Today we chat with celebrant Matt Jackson, who shares tips on how to have the best wedding experience. Housewife of Auckland and Batley, Burton shares the first of her champagne etiquette tips. We visit Fish Restaurant at the Hilton Auckland to check out their menu. Claire Waterworth from the Cosmetic Clinic on Queen Street discusses positive ageing. And finally, we pop into AquaIV Lounge in Parnell to check out their IV infusions. Well, we all know that one of the most stressful days in our lives is the day we get married. So here to share a few tips, tricks and a little bit of inspiration is our favourite celebrant. This is Matt Jackson. Welcome to the studio, Matt.
Kia ora, welcome.
Good to have you here.
Thank you, great to be here.
Look, now first of all, before we jump into, I have so many questions for you. Before we jump into that, tell us about your background as a celebrant.
So look, I grew up in Wellington, great place to be, you can't beat it on a great day. Moved to Auckland, did some career in banking, work in HR, and it was my sister-in-law that asked me to be an MC, and so I thought, well, if I can talk. And then, so we were doing that, and as we were looking for a celebrant, there were so many of them, and everyone just kind of had that whole, I've been a celebrant for 5 years and this is my service. And there was nothing that was punchy or exciting. And so I thought, look, there's a gap in the market here. Maddie McLean from TVNZ had just gone overseas. And so there was no one that filled that kind of rainbow community.
Wow.
And so I thought, look, that's my niche. Ironically, that's probably been, lesser of it. And it's actually been the heterosexual couples that I've married and thoroughly enjoyed. But look, that's the great beauty of being a celebrant. You cross all unions and it's all about love at the end of the day.
It's so true. I'm so glad you said that. At the end of the day, love is love. But why do people get so stressed on their big day?
I think because everyone, and look, I'm going to talk mainly in a heterosexual world here because I think, the rainbow community have different challenges which are more like, whatever, we're doing it our way. And look, that is coming through now and more that we see. But I think ever since little girls grow up, they go, this is my dream wedding. I've planned this since I was 5. And so they put so much pressure on themselves and they actually forget to enjoy themselves. And one of the things that I say when I meet couples is just, actually, this is your day. Just enjoy it. And one of my little, secrets that I'll let in is when a groom's standing there, I always do 3 things. I say, are your shoes tied up so you don't fall over? Is your flight up so you're not embarrassed? And thirdly, just enjoy it because you're not going to remember a thing about this. And it just takes that pressure off because you've got, 30, 40, 50, 60 guests all staring at you. Most of the time, this is their first time and they're going, I don't know what do I do with my hands, And you've got to be in control of that day because otherwise it could all go pear-shaped if your celebrant's not confident.
Look, I totally agree. So really, being the celebrant, you're the MC, you're holding the stage and the space for everyone else, including the couple, right?
Totally.
Yep. Got it. So I've already been out to social media. I have asked a whole bunch of our viewers a whole lot of questions. What did they want to know? If they had 5 minutes with you, what are the biggest questions they've asked? So, first of all, the first question from Tracy was, how do you write a ceremony? What's involved?
Hey Tracy, thanks for your question. Great question. Look, for me, it's all about the couple, right? You've got to get a bit of a feel for the couple. And that's why when we do the consult, you go, how did you meet? You hear the love story and, it's usually, no, I didn't. Yes, I did. And you actually start to get a bit of a vibe for the couple. And so you go away and you kind of pull that together and look, you share some options with a couple and you can either go down that real sort of lovey-dovey, really soppy stuff, which isn't for everyone but is for some people, or you just go we just want the bare minimum to do it. So you get a bit of a feel and you kind of pull some stuff together. Sometimes people come back to you and go, Matt, that is horrendous. And then you just rewrite it. And you've got to remember, it's not about you. You meet the couple for maybe 20, 30 minutes. You've got to get that vibe, that instant click like this. So it's actually easier to sometimes write from someone that you know really well. So I spend the time to get to know the couple and find out about their love story and weave it all in.
Yeah, and so you can really personalise it as well. Totally. So important.
And some people don't want that personalisation, You get a bit of a sense when you're meeting with couples and they go, look, I'm not about the limelight. I just want to do the bit that I need to do. I want to make it meaningful. I want everyone to go, wow, that was an amazing ceremony, but I want to be the hell out of there. So, you've got to understand what the couple want, and it's really important that you actually get that vibe early on.
I totally understand. So Yana sent in a question, and you've just kind of highlighted on that. What do you do to put people at ease? Because there's that moment where people are waiting for the wedding to start. Your audience or your congregation, if you depending on where you are, they're all getting a bit nervous. Is it going to happen? Your groom is nervous. What are the sort of tips or tricks that you share to help people, aside from what you shared about the groom before?
Sure. Look, sometimes you text in the bride and they're like, oh, we're just on the way, or my parents have left. And so you kind of, they're in like excite mode. They're all getting ready. They know they're going to be late. So they're kind of taken care of. Sometimes it's the groom that you kind of probably have to settle just to kind of relax, because he's often seeing the mothers of the bride and seeing his parents and his mates and all, his mates are giving a bit of jib at the end. And so sometimes it's like that, but quite often there'll be a bit, and it might be that, hey, the couple don't want you to be taking photos during the ceremony, because no one wants the, Auntie Sue with a big iPad walking down the middle and the cameras are there, right? So it's just going, hey, it's an unplugged ceremony, take as many photos as you want, but, don't be a photo in a photo. And so it's just, sometimes you've got all those little rules to do. If you're at venues, sometimes they'll be like, here's the fire exits and all your health and safety things like that. COVID's changed the world, it's like, I'm wearing a mask until I speak, it's all those sort of things. So you do have that kind of a bit of a preamble when you only sort of do it just before the bride's coming. So that wait is long enough to cause anticipation, but not long enough to be awkward.
Oh, and I love it.
Sometimes you just have to sit there and you go, yeah, well, so the bride's late again, and so you make some little jokes like that to try and ease it, and everyone goes, and then it just kind of flows on from there.
So, question for you from Ali, who said, should you write your own vows?
Ali, that is the $1 million question. And look, it's up to you. It's your wedding day. Do what you like. I always say, look, it's really personal. My personal preference is that if I was getting married, I'd absolutely write my own vows, because I'd want to, be a bit cheeky, be a bit kind of, crass, and be also that kind of really lovey-dovey, just to reflect who I am. But ultimately, some people don't want to do that, and that's fine. And so what I always say is, look, go away, write your own vows, use old Google A, see what they have to say. But equally, I've got some vows that are pretty standard that I can share with you. There's the I take you to be my lawful husband, wife, etc., that are fairly kind of plain and simple. Again, it just depends. So happy to share that, but sometimes I don't like to share that straight off the bat, because it then forces people down an aisle, and I go, actually, it's about your day. Tell you what you want. But what I do say to couples is, if you both send them if you don't want each other to know the vows until the day, because you've got to keep some magic in the ceremony, right?
True.
I say, send them to me separately, and I'll come back to you if one's written 3 pages and one's done 1, so that we're actually, like for like. So, look, it's entirely up to you whether you write the vows. I always encourage couples to do, because it's that one chance where you actually get to tell the person that you love exactly what you want to tell in that moment.
Love it. Great advice there. I'm just thinking about this next question. This is a big one from Jono. Shout out to Jono, who watches our show. He has asked about the importance of music. So the story behind it is he's been arguing with his fiancée. Well, not arguing, but having very deep discussions about the importance of music, the length of music, and how much to include. So what would your advice be?
Thanks for your question, Jono. And look, there's this false pretense that there's, Bridezilla. Groomzilla's a thing too. It's coming out. Look, music's important. I come from a background where music speaks to me, so I'm probably slightly biased in that space. I think, you walk down the aisle song, if it's just a bride walking down the aisle, that's your one moment to go, here I am, this is who we're all about. Sometimes we're now seeing grooms walk down the aisle, or the flower boy, or, the bridesmaids might have a different song and things like that. So we're seeing lots of different things, and it can get quite complex if you have lots of different elements to it. Your signing song, I always say too, because, you'll play the one, but then you'll have to do those really nice poses with the photographer that you cringe about in years to come and your kids still mock you about, but they're really important to that's the legal part of the day. So choose one that you really love, and then choose one that you actually really want, so that you've got that blend, because inevitably they run over.
Wow, that's so smart.
And then the final song is the exit song. That's to say, heck yeah, we're married, we're doing this. That's your statement song. So for me, it's really almost that end song, because, people are so busy looking at the bride and the dress and go, and all those sort of things. They're not really listening for the song. But that exit song, that's when the party starts. So that's the vibe you want.
I absolutely love it. Another question, and I know we've talked about this before today, about the importance of rehearsal. So this was an anonymous question that actually came in through social. Is a rehearsal for your wedding actually important?
I'm going to be a little bit controversial here. I'm not a fan of rehearsals. And the reason for that is half the time it's usually, look, in a pre-COVID world, it's Auntie Sue and Auntie Bob and Mary and everyone coming across. And they're all just getting together and you're all having a good yarn. The celebrant's kind of sticking there going, so do we want to do this? And it becomes a little bit awkward. And 9 times out of 10, I'm yet to see a rehearsal that actually goes the same way on the wedding day.
Oh, wow.
Because, your timing's out, you're nervous, your bridesmaid took 3 steps too long or you took 3 steps too fast and the song hasn't finished and everyone just gets flustered. Whereas if you're doing it on the day, we have a conversation in our consult and the questions leading up to the day of, you walk in and you go to the left and, there's this awkward exchange between the father or the bride and carries on. And so, look, I'll do a rehearsal if someone's particularly nervous or they ask for it, but I try to discourage it because it's just one of those things that adds pressure the day before and you're already busy enough thinking about it. So I guess it's one of those, it's a personal preference thing ultimately, but I always try to discourage my couples because it's just, let's just go with the flow and roll with it.
That is absolutely brilliant advice. So speaking of final advice, you're on the stage with Oprah. It's your big moment. What would be that final big tip you wished every bride and groom knew before they get married?
Look, if I was on the stage with Oprah, I'd probably ask some other questions, but it's not about me. It's about the advice for couples. And look, the big thing that I would say is your day, your way. And what I mean by that is everyone has an opinion on weddings. Some celebrants, some people will disagree with things that I've said, but that's my vibe, that's your vibe. We're all in this together. It's a big industry. I think the thing is just remember that this is the day that you've dreamed of and you're marrying the one that you love, and let's not lose sight of the reason that you're doing it. And so don't focus on the little details, because if you focus on all the little details, that things will go wrong, and that's okay. All that matters is you're legally married, you have one hell of a party, and you're happy. That's all we can ask for.
Oh, it just makes my heart happy. It's so good to hear that. Thank you so much, Matt. Now, if people want to find out more about you, where can they check you out?
So they can go mattjackson.co.nz, Married by Matt on Instagram, or Matt Jackson Marriage Celebrant on Facebook. So either one of those, check it out and let's have a chat.
Sounds brilliant. Matt, thank you so much for joining us.
No worries, thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Anne Batley Burton, Champagne Lady. And I'm the only dame of champagne in New Zealand. As the French say, Dame de l'Ordre des Côtes de Champagne. And I take my role very, very seriously because it gives me a wonderful chance to tell everybody how to drink their champagne. So before we start, I'd just like to say when you're having champagne, it depends on the type of champagne as to what temperature you want to drink it at. For example, if you're drinking a beautiful, fresh, lively, youthful champagne, like my Champagne Jacquard Brut Mosaic as an example, you'll want to have it chilled down really well to about 6 degrees. If you were drinking a more mature champagne, one that's aged, one that's very complex, perhaps a vintage champagne, you'll want to keep it at a temperature a little bit warmer at 10 degrees. And this gives you the opportunity to really appreciate the complexity that's developed in that bottle. And as always, please remember to drink responsibly. Cheers.
If you're ready for a true VIP experience, you need to head to Fish Restaurant here, Prince's Wharf at the Hilton. Come inside and let's take a look. Well, when it comes to the pursuit of beauty, many of us will travel to the ends of the earth to find the right solution. So here to share some insights on how to get that solution done right is the gorgeous Claire Waterworth from the Cosmetic Clinic in Queen Street. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Monique.
I am so grateful to have you here. We've chatted at great length about beauty tips and tricks just between us. So I thought it was really timely as people are demasking and getting out there again to talk about what people can do to enhance or preserve their beauty. So first of all, for people who don't know you, tell me about the Cosmetic Clinic. Tell me about you on Queen Street.
Okay, so we've been open for 2 years on Queen Street. The Cosmetic Clinic is part of a brand of 15 clinics in New Zealand so far. We're also part of an Australian brand called Australian Skin Clinics. So overall, there's about 120 of us in Australasia. So when you come to us, you know that you're in very safe hands. All of our treatments are tried and tested, and our protocols are very strict, irrelevant to where you go.
Yes. So my understanding too is that you come from a medical background as well. Is that correct?
Yes. So I'm a registered nurse, trained in the UK, I had to think where I came from, 23 years ago, and then moved into medical sales and worked in medical sales for a while. My most recent role, before I joined the Cosmetic Clinic, was working with Allergan, the manufacturers of one of the anti-wrinkle and dermal filler products, Botox and Juvederm. And I was one of their account managers, but I also worked as a Botox trainer for them throughout New Zealand.
Wow. So you don't just walk the talk and do all the medical, you've actually come from that side of really understanding the products deeply. Would that be fair?
Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic. So while we're on that topic, let's talk injectables, because my understanding is there's a number of different solutions, and that's really what I wanted to be able to share with our audience today.
Absolutely.
It's not just about the what goes on here, right? So
Absolutely.
tell me about those solutions.
Yeah, so when a client first comes into us, we'll talk to them about their concerns and what they're seeing and what they're wanting. And often what they're seeing and wanting needs a different treatment. So it's all about the cause as opposed to the effect. So the client will come in, we'll have the consultation, we'll talk to them about what we can and can't do. And we'll often look at the client and think, are they a beautification client or are they a positive aging client? And we proceed sort of accordingly to what they need and what is safe for them to have and what they can sort of take as a person. So obviously we look at the beautification, the younger girls, I say younger, I'm talking sort of under 30,
right?
Who might come in and they want a really beautiful light reflect on their cheek, or they might be seeing the first signs of aging. A lot of them see something that their mother has and they don't want to look like their mother. Some people will see
It's a good one, actually.
That's me. And so they'll come in and they just want a little, a tweak, and we work with them on that. And then the positive age is sort of 30 onwards, which I class myself as.
And I love that term, positive aging, by the way, I think, because it's going to happen anyway. So doing it with some grace is a nice way to do it, right? Yeah,
and it's being in control of your aging. And everyone talks about aging gracefully, but what does that mean? I like to think I'm aging gracefully. Now I'm turning 50 in November, and I like to be in control of my aging.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I had no idea. So I've known you for 2 years, and I know that the women that in our circles keep saying what is so nice about you is that you turn up and you're a perfect reflection of your work, and you turn up and you don't look frozen, you look real, you still have mobility, but you're flawless. So that's part of that positive aging protocol.
Yeah, it's about being in control of your look and what you want. And when you go to the right nurse will really consult and get to know you as a person and what you like. And it's all about I suppose the dosing as well, because this is a medical treatment. So if someone wants to be wrinkles gone, completely frozen, absolutely, that is something we will work with. If someone like me, for example, I like to have some movement. I like to look quite, I'm going to use the word natural, but natural is very subjective to the person that's looking in the mirror. So I will have a lower dose to give myself a little bit more movement.
And so what it does too, from what I'm seeing right here in front of me, is you just look fresh. Fresh and like you've had a holiday.
That's my goal.
Okay, so we've got the first one is the you were talking about, the second treatment was the positive aging.
Yep.
What's the next type of treatment you were talking about?
So there's two other sort of classifications of client that we see. We see the transformation client, and often that's someone transitioning from male to female, female to male, and if we're talking male to female, they want to feminize the face. So we're looking at maybe slimming down the masseters, pointing out the chin, getting more of the oval face or the heart-shaped face for them, giving them the light reflect on the cheek. Which, for the confidence boost when you're going through something like that, it's amazing to see the journey. The next category that we might sometimes see, but it's less frequent, is the correction category. And they're people who see that they have what they perceive as a flaw. And it may or may not be that, and most people will look at them and not see the same thing, but it affects them socially. It can stop them from going out, it can stop them from forming relationships. So they'll come in to have something corrected as such through either dermal filler or anti-wrinkle treatment. So there's a whole sort of holistic view behind what goes on. It's not just injecting someone.
So let's talk about safety protocols, because I know that's really high on your list with your clinic.
Yeah.
What do you have in place to make sure that people do come out looking amazing? I know there's people who are concerned about pain, or a few things that we may have seen in social media of mishaps. What do you do to look after your clients?
Yep. So obviously all of us, the nurses within the clinic, are overseen by a cosmetic doctor who is a member of the New Zealand Society of Cosmetic Medicine. And she's very strict with us, obviously, to make sure that we're working within our remit as such. We all undergo a lot of training before we even pick up the needle, and we train in the anatomy of the face. And we obviously need to know all the vessels, where they are, how they lie. Our injecting technique works with avoiding the larger vessels, and we do everything we can to make it as safe as possible for you. We have incredibly strict protocols. Working out how to get the concentration going. So our protocols really look at the safety, and it can be anything from, making sure the skin is clean before we inject, because obviously dermal filler is a sugar. It's made out of hyaluronic acid. And it could last in your skin anything up to 2 years. So we want to make sure your skin is really clean before we inject. So sometimes we'll ask you to cleanse your face before we suck, because we don't want to put anything else in. We'll then use chlorhexidine, and the last thing that will probably touch your face before the needle goes in is an alcohol wipe to make sure it's really, really clean. Cheek injections will often go down onto bone, so we know that we're avoiding the vessels. We go through a very strict consent form as well with the client. We look at health conditions. Can they have the injectables? Are they going to interact with the injectables? COVID vaccinations, we have to put certain protocols in around the injection times around there. But it really is knowing your anatomy of the face. And if someone says to you, am I going to bruise? Very probably you could bruise, because when you look at all the vessels in the face, there's hundreds of minute ones as well, not just the main arteries and veins. So there's always that risk, but it's the larger risk that we really try and avoid, and that's why we have the understanding of our anatomy.
Yes, and that's why people need to come and see you, obviously, and your amazing team.
Yeah.
So before we finish up, final tip. One of the things that, of course, I keep coming back to is aging. The beautification, not the beautification, but the positive aging.
Yeah.
That's the one that's really resonating with me today. So what would be your biggest tip that you would share with people, with whether it's skincare or the injectables, or what would be your biggest tip you wish everybody knew about positive aging?
If you're going to do nothing else, wear a good sunscreen. And I'm not talking a supermarket sunscreen, I'm talking a Factor 50 from a reputable brand, and wear it every day, summer, winter, inside, outside. Wear your sunscreen.
Inside and outside. That's a new, I was today years old when I learned that one. Thank you so much, Claire.
Thank you.
If you'd like to find out more about Claire and her amazing team of skin professionals, you need to find out by checking the details out below, and pop into the clinic, have your consult, and find out how you too can experience positive aging. Claire, thank you so much for joining me today. I have learnt a ton.
Thank you. It's been great.
Well, g'day. I'm here today at AquaIV Lounge because I feel like I need a bit of a top-up. So let's get it done. Here we go. Exciting. Oh, g'day. Hey, nice to meet you.
Christian.
Yeah, cool. Let's go on through. Exciting.
Okay, so 45 minutes of treatment, super relaxed, had a lovely cup of tea. The team keep on checking on you and having a lovely conversation. And what I loved, no pain. Tiny little scratch at the beginning, other than that, no pain. And I feel really relaxed. Definitely worth checking out if you are like me, you have a busy life, you're stressed, and you need a bit of a top up. Come and check them out.